Hello and welcome to the Business English Success Story podcast.
It's great to be here.
Today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of Donald Trump's business ventures.
Yes, we'll be looking at a whole collection of sources that cover his entire career,
From his early days in New York real estate.
all the way to building that global brand.
So I think what our listeners are really interested in are the key takeaways,
Absolutely.
like those pivotal decisions and strategies that really shaped his success.
Exactly.
We don't want to just, recount a timeline.
No.
We really want to dissect those turning points.
Right.
The challenges he faced and the, kind of innovative solutions he employed.
Yeah, for sure.
So think of this deep dive as kind of a masterclass
Oh, I like that.
in deal-making, brand building, and resilience, all viewed through the lens of his incredible career.
Right, and I think that's going to be fascinating for the listeners
Absolutely.
to kind of see how those all play out.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
So, we all know the name Trump is synonymous with real estate.
Yes.
But it's fascinating to consider how his father, Fred Trump,
Right.
played a role in shaping Donald's early understanding of the business.
Yeah, his father was very successful in his own right, focusing on kind of that middle-class housing in the outer boroughs of New York.
Right.
But that gave Donald a firsthand look at the industry, and there are stories about Fred taking him to construction sites.
Like as a kid.
As a kid, yeah, and saying, this is where the money is made.
Oh, wow.
You got to understand how all this works.
Yeah. So it's like, learning the ropes from a master craftsman.
Absolutely.
So did Donald absorb any specific lessons from those early experiences?
Definitely.
Like what stands out?
Well, first and foremost, the importance of meticulous planning
Yeah.
and financial management.
Right.
Fred was really known for his attention to detail, particularly when it came to controlling costs.
Yeah. Making sure every penny counts.
Absolutely. And maximizing profits.
Right.
Donald also saw how his father would identify opportunities in areas that others thought were maybe undervalued.
Interesting. So kind of seeing the potential where others didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's a hallmark of his own approach later on, too.
Yeah, for sure.
So while Donald ultimately set his sights on that glitz and glamour of Manhattan,
Right.
he had a solid foundation
Yes, he did.
in the practical aspects of, developing real estate.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because Fred was successful,
Right.
but he was operating on a much smaller scale than Donald would eventually.
Okay.
Donald seemed to have this different kind of ambition,
Like, what do you mean?
this desire to create something truly iconic
Oh, okay.
and leave his mark on the world, literally shaping the skyline.
Wow. Yeah. Big dreams.
Huge restraint.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us to his first major Manhattan project,
Oh,
the Commodore Hotel deal.
a big one.
I'm sure our listeners are wondering, what was the state of New York City at the time?
Yeah.
Wasn't it in decline?
It was, the 1970s were a very challenging time for New York.
Right.
Crime rates were really high. The city was facing a fiscal crisis.
So not exactly the ideal time to get into real estate.
Not really, and many areas were in decline.
Right.
The Commodore Hotel, which had once been this grand landmark, had fallen into disrepair
Oh, wow.
and was considered by many developers to be a liability.
A money pit.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Donald saw an opportunity.
He did.
So most people saw a rundown building, but he saw something else.
He had vision.
He did. What made him see potential where others saw problems?
It boiled down to location, location, location.
Real estate 101.
Yeah, right. Commodore was right next to Grand Central Terminal.
A major hub.
Yeah, major transportation hub.
So he had this vision of revitalizing the area.
Yes.
Turning the hotel into a symbol of the city's resurgence.
Exactly.
Sounds like a classic, buy low, sell high strategy.
Yeah.
But I imagine pulling off a deal like that wasn't easy.
Oh, it was incredibly complex.
I bet.
Yeah. The hotel was owned by the bankrupt Penn Central Railroad.
Oh, so that's the first hurdle.
Yes, that's a big one right there.
Right.
And then on top of that, he had to get financing.
Right.
And banks were very hesitant to lend money for a project in such a troubled area.
I can imagine.
It was a big risk.
So how did he manage to convince everybody?
Well, it was a few things.
Okay.
First of all, he brought in the Hyatt hotel chain as a partner.
Right.
And that added a lot of credibility and expertise to the project.
Right. It's having that name attached to it.
Exactly. Second, he spent months and months meticulously researching the market
Oh, wow.
and was able to present a compelling case.
So really did his homework.
He did his homework and said, this is why this is going to be a success.
Interesting.
And then finally, he used his father's company as a guarantor.
Oh, wow.
for the loans, which demonstrated to the banks that he was really committed.
That's a big show of faith.
Yeah, it was a big risk for his father, too, but it really helped.
It's amazing how he pulled it all together.
Yeah, he was very persuasive.
And wasn't there also this kind of unique design element to the hotel?
Yes, the reflective glass facade.
Right, which at the time was pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, especially for a building in such a historic location.
So it wasn't just an aesthetic choice.
It was a statement.
It was.
The reflective glass symbolized a new era for Manhattan,
Right.
reflecting the sky and the city's aspirations.
Yeah, it was bold.
It really was, and it captured the public's imagination.
I bet, and it became kind of this iconic part of the skyline.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it paid off.
It did.
The Grand Hyatt became a symbol of Manhattan's revitalization.
Yes.
And for Donald, it was a huge financial win.
Absolutely. It was a turning point in his career.
Yeah, it showed the world that he could deliver
Yes.
on these ambitious projects.
Right.
And that he had this, knack for these creative solutions
Yeah.
and these strategic partnerships.
It was really the start of something big.
Absolutely. And it was a stepping stone to even bigger things,
Wow.
like Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue.
Trump Tower, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, and that's a story for part 2 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned for that one.
Absolutely. We'll continue to unpack those key lessons and strategy,
Yeah, we will.
that you can apply to your own business endeavors.
Right. I mean, these are things that are really valuable no matter what business you're in.
Right. So make sure to join us for part 2.
Definitely.
We'll pick up the story there.
We will. Welcome back to our deep dive.
Into the business empire of Donald Trump.
That's right.
So last time we left off with the Grand Hyatt,
Yes.
a project that really put Donald on the map as a major player in Manhattan real estate.
Absolutely.
It seems like that success just fueled his ambition even more
Oh, yeah. He was just getting started.
to take on even bigger, bolder ventures.
Right.
So by the late 1970s,
Okay.
he had his sights set on Fifth Avenue,
Wow.
one of the most prestigious addresses
In the world.
in the world. He wanted to build something truly iconic,
Of course.
a tower that would, just redefine luxury living in New York City.
Yeah, make a statement.
Yeah, and that's how Trump Tower was born.
Right.
But I imagine securing that location right in the heart of Fifth Avenue must have been a challenge.
Oh, it was.
I bet.
The site was occupied by the Bonwit Teller Building,
Oh, wow.
which was a very well-established department store,
Yeah?
and the owners were not interested in selling.
Really? So how did he manage to acquire such a prime piece of real estate? Did he just offer them a price they couldn't refuse?
It was more strategic than that.
Okay.
He started quietly buying up air rights from the neighboring buildings.
Now, for those of us who aren't real estate moguls, can you explain what air rights are
Sure.
and how they played into this deal?
So air rights essentially give you the legal right to build above a certain height.
Okay.
So by acquiring air rights from his neighbors, he
Right.
gained leverage
Interesting.
in his negotiations with Bonwit Teller,
I see.
because he could potentially build a much taller tower than they could.
Oh, so it made their property less valuable.
Exactly.
Wow. That's brilliant.
Yeah, he was really good at that kind of strategic thinking.
It's like a real-life game of Monopoly.
Yeah, you could say that.
Outmaneuvering your opponents to secure the most valuable properties.
Absolutely. He was a master at the game.
He was. And he had another ace up his sleeve.
Oh, what's that?
Patience.
Oh,
He waited for Bonwit Teller's parent company to face financial difficulties before making his move.
yeah.
Instead of just offering a purchase price, he presented himself as a solution
I see.
to their problems,
Right.
offering a deal that would benefit both parties.
So it wasn't just about the money.
No.
It was about understanding their needs
Exactly.
and finding a win-win.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, he was very good at that.
So he secured the site.
He did.
But what was his vision for Trump Tower?
Yeah.
Was it just about building the tallest skyscraper in New York?
No, it was much more than that.
Yeah.
He envisioned a mixed-use development, like a city within a city
Wow.
that would combine, high-end retail,
Right.
premium office space.
Okay.
And of course, those ultra-luxury condominiums that became his signature.
Yeah, he wasn't just selling apartments.
No.
He was selling a lifestyle.
Exactly. He understood the power of branding
Yeah.
and creating that aura of exclusivity.
Right.
He wanted to create a destination,
A place.
a place that would be synonymous with luxury
Yeah.
and success.
Absolutely. And he was very hands-on throughout the entire process.
Oh, yeah.
From the design to the construction, he had a very specific vision.
He did. He was very meticulous about every detail.
Really, like what kind of details are we talking about?
Oh, from the pink marble finishes to the iconic atrium waterfall.
Wow.
He even had a hand in designing the sales office,
Wow.
which became a destination in itself.
Really?
It had this giant model of the tower and these breathtaking renderings.
So he was creating an experience, not just a building.
Exactly. He understood that luxury is about more than just materials.
Right. It's about creating a feeling and aspiration.
Absolutely. And he was a master of marketing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he knew how to generate buzz.
He even turned the construction process into a public spectacle.
How so?
With constant media coverage and updates.
So building anticipation.
Yeah, building that anticipation for the tower's grand opening.
It's like he was creating a reality show before reality TV even existed.
Yeah.
You could say that.
And speaking of reality TV, that's actually where we're headed next.
Oh, yes.
But before we get to The Apprentice, I think it's important to highlight another key aspect of Trump's approach to real estate.
Okay, what's that?
His innovative financing strategies.
Ah, yes.
So you're referring to the way he financed Trump Tower?
Yeah.
I've heard he used a rather unconventional method.
He did. Instead of relying solely on bank loans, he pioneered this strategy of pre-selling the condominiums.
Oh, wow.
To wealthy buyers.
So essentially using their deposits to fund the construction.
Exactly.
Wow, that's incredibly savvy.
Yeah, minimizing his own financial risk.
So he was leveraging the desirability of the project to secure funding.
Yeah, he was creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
How so?
The more exclusive and desirable the project seemed, the more buyers were willing to put down those deposits.
Yeah.
Which in turn funded the construction.
I see.
And further enhanced the project's prestige.
Well, it's brilliant.
It's a brilliant business model.
Yeah, and it speaks to his understanding of not just real estate, but also psychology and marketing.
Oh, for sure.
He knew how to create that sense of excitement and scarcity.
Absolutely.
You know, making people feel like they had to be part of something special.
He was a master at that.
He was always thinking several steps ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And that strategic thinking would become even more crucial.
I bet.
As he faced new challenges and opportunities in the years to come.
Right.
And that brings us to a pivotal moment in his career.
Oh, yes.
His foray into the world of Atlantic City casinos.
The casinos.
But we'll save that story for the next part of our deep dive.
It's definitely a story for another time.
But stay tuned because we're about to see how Donald Trump takes his empire
to a whole new level.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the business world of Donald Trump.
Yes, we're picking up where we left off.
Exploring his incredible journey through the world of real estate and beyond.
It's quite a story.
In the previous parts, we saw him transform a rundown hotel into a symbol of New York City's resurgence.
The Grand Hyatt.
Exactly. And then he built Trump Tower.
Wow.
A structure that redefined luxury living in Manhattan.
He seemed to have this knack for seeing opportunities.
He did.
Where others saw only problems.
Yeah, and he wasn't afraid to take those risks.
Especially when it came to financing.
Especially with the financing.
Yeah, those ambitious projects.
We talked about how he used those creative strategies, like pre-selling the condos.
Absolutely.
To minimize his own risk.
Yeah.
And leverage the desirability of his projects to get the funding.
It's fascinating.
It really is a fascinating case study in entrepreneurial thinking.
It is.
But as we move into the next chapter of his career, we see him entering a whole new arena.
A new game.
A new game. The world of Atlantic City casinos.
Oh, yes, the casino.
So what drew him to this industry?
Well, the early 1980s saw this huge boom in the casino industry.
Okay.
And Atlantic City was emerging as this, major destination.
Right.
And Trump, being Trump, he saw an opportunity
to make a lot of money.
Well, to create a Las Vegas of the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Capitalizing on that growing demand for entertainment.
And gambling.
And gambling, of course.
So it sounds like he was always, looking for that next big thing.
Yeah, he always had to be on the cutting edge.
The next frontier to conquer.
Absolutely.
It's in his blood.
It is.
So he had this vision for transforming Atlantic City into this world-class destination. And in true Trump fashion, he acquired not one, but two struggling casinos.
Wow.
Back to back.
Two of them.
The Holiday Inn.
Okay.
And the unfinished Hilton project.
Right, which later became Trump Castle.
Yeah, so two major acquisitions at the same time.
Yeah, that's a big move.
That must have been a huge financial undertaking.
Oh, it was enormous.
Yeah, how did he swing that?
Well, this is where we really see his financial maneuvering and deal-making skills in full force.
Let's hear it.
He didn't have the cash on hand.
Right.
to buy these properties outright. So he leveraged his reputation and future projections to secure those bank loans.
So he was betting on the success of these ventures to pay off the debt.
Exactly. A calculated risk.
Huge risk.
It was, but he also used this relatively new financing instrument at the time.
What was that?
Junk bonds.
Well, junk bonds.
High-risk, high-yield bonds.
Right.
That offered those large sums he needed.
To get these projects going.
To get them off the ground.
Yeah. So it sounds like he was walking a financial tightrope.
He was, but he had a plan.
Okay.
What was the plan?
He wasn't just buying casinos.
Right.
He was creating entertainment destinations.
I see.
He envisioned venues that offered more than just gambling.
Okay, so what else?
You know, high-end restaurants.
Oh.
Championship boxing matches.
Wow.
Luxury hotel suites.
So a whole experience.
The whole package attracting a wider audience.
Right.
Even people who didn't gamble.
So diversifying the experience.
Exactly, making it appealing to a broader market.
Smart.
And of course, he was meticulous about maintaining that perception of luxury and exclusivity.
Of course.
He wanted to create an experience that was synonymous with the Trump brand.
Right. You know, I've heard a story.
Oh, yeah.
About him insisting on repairing a minor issue with the marble floor in one of the casinos.
Right.
Immediately.
I heard that story, too.
Even though it meant closing the main entrance for 2 days. And he said, luxury is in the details.
It's all about the image. That's a perfect illustration.
It is.
Of his commitment to creating a certain image and experience.
And you know, it's not just about the money.
Yeah.
It's about the brand.
It's about the brand.
The feeling, the experience.
So how did he manage to juggle all these projects?
Yeah.
While still maintaining that hands-on approach?
Right. He was famous for that.
You know, wasn't he known for walking the casino floors?
Oh, yeah. Talking to staff.
Talking to customers?
Interacting with everyone.
Really?
He was very present.
Oh.
He understood the importance of, you know, seeing how things were running.
Right.
And connecting with the people.
You were part of his empire.
Exactly. Part of his world.
It's a valuable lesson for any business leader.
It is.
To never lose sight of the human element.
Absolutely.
But even empires face storms.
Oh, yes.
And in the early 1990s, a perfect storm hit the Trump organization.
What happened?
A crashing real estate market, soaring interest rates, increased competition in Atlantic City, and a mountain of debt.
How much debt are we talking about?
Nearly $3.4 billion.
Wow.
With a significant portion personally guaranteed by Trump.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It does.
So how did he navigate this crisis?
Yeah. What happened?
Well, it was a critical moment in his career.
I bet.
He was facing down bankruptcy.
Oh.
And the media was having a field day.
Of course.
Chronicling his every move.
So what did he do?
It was a period of intense negotiations with banks, with contractors, with regulatory bodies.
Oh, my God.
He had to make tough decisions.
Yeah.
Restructure deals and find creative ways to manage all that debt.
So he had to be really smart.
It must have been incredibly stressful.
I can't even imagine.
But it's in those moments
that
true leadership and resilience shine through.
Absolutely.
And he didn't shy away from the challenge.
No.
He faced it head on.
Good for him.
Did he have to make any significant sacrifices? Well, he did.
Like what?
He had to sell off some of his assets.
Oh, wow.
Including his beloved Trump Shuttle airline.
Oh.
And the mega yacht, the Trump Princess.
Those are big sacrifices.
They were, and he had to relinquish control of some of his casinos.
Wow. So that must have been a bitter pill to swallow.
It must have been, but he understood that sometimes you have to make those short-term sacrifices to ensure long-term survival.
So he was playing the long game.
He also completely revamped his business model.
Oh, really? How so?
He realized he had become too reliant on those high-risk, high-leverage deals.
Right.
So he shifted his focus to brand licensing,
Interesting.
leveraging the value of the Trump name to generate revenue without taking on as much risk.
So instead of building and owning everything himself, he started licensing his name to other developers, hotels, even consumer products.
Exactly. He turned his name into a global brand.
Wow.
A symbol of luxury and success.
That's a powerful move.
It was, and it allowed him to generate steady income, rebuild his financial foundation, and ultimately come out of that crisis stronger than ever before.
So it was a remarkable story.
It is.
Of resilience and reinvention.
Absolutely.
He took a major setback and turned it into an opportunity to redefine his business and solidify his brand.
To come back even bigger.
Exactly. And it's a valuable lesson.
It is.
For any entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to adapt and evolve.
Right. Sometimes those greatest opportunities come from the ashes of failure.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, we hope you found this deep dive into Donald Trump's business ventures insightful and engaging.
Absolutely.
We encourage you to apply some of the principles we've discussed to your own endeavors.
To your own businesses.
Remember, success in business requires vision, strategic thinking, adaptability, and the willingness to take calculated risks.
Absolutely. Those are key takeaways.
And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast.
Yes, please do.
For more deep dives into the world of business and finance.
We've got lots more stories to share.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Yeah.
Leave us a comment.
Definitely.
Share it with your friends.
And tell us what you think.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.